Are you having a spasm or what? Okay. Here we go. Please go like this. Maybe he's just excited because we're in math class. Taking a practice quiz. Here we go. Number 1. Write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So my final answer needs to be in slope-intercept form through these 2 points. Okay, what's the first thing I have to do? Gotta find the slope. And guys, it's time we get that right. Slope is y over x.
Yes.
Rise over run.
It doesn't matter what order, right?
As long as you do it the same order for both letters, it doesn't matter. So, slope will be 8 minus 3. And if I do 8 minus 3, then I gotta do 3 minus negative 2. It looks like we have a perfect situation here. It looks like our slope is 1. Okay, now pick a point. I'll just use, which one do you want to use? 3, 8. So y minus 8 equals 1, x minus 3. Now remember, there's different versions of the quiz. So somebody's quiz might say, answer and point slope. You hope that's you because you're done. That is it. But this one says answer and slope intercept. So we distribute and add the 8. And there is your point slope form. I mean, excuse me, your slope intercept form. All right? Tomorrow, you need to be able to do that. So if you need more practice, you can go home and either practice little problems from the notes. You can rewrite this one on another sheet of paper and practice it, but you gotta be able to do this. All right, what is the slope of any line parallel to this one? So what do we know about parallel? They have the same slope. So we got to figure out what the slope of that is. Because the answer is going to be whatever the slope of that is. How do we, when we have a line, when we have 2 points, we do this. What do we do when we have a line? Get y by itself. So I'll subtract the 5x to the other side. Minus the 5x to the other side. And divide by 9. Now, what number up there is the slope? Negative 5/9. Right there's your slope. Because we have y equals mx plus b. That's your slope, negative 5/9. So since we're doing parallel, the answer is negative 5/9. What if we were doing perpendicular? Positive 9/5. You flip it and change the sign. Okay? All good. What in the heck does that mean? That was on your last quiz. Some of you got it right, some of you didn't. That means distance. So the very first thing you should think is radical. Now, what are you going to put under the radical? Your points are 7, 1, and 6, 2.
X minus x squared.
So 7 minus 6 squared. Remember, x goes with x. So either 7 minus 6 or 6 minus 7, it doesn't matter. We'll square it. Plus 1 minus 2. 1 minus 2. All right, what's 7 minus 6? Come on, we can do that without a calculator. That's 1. Squared is 1. What's 1 minus 2? -1. Squared is 1. So it looks like our answer is just the square root of 2. And what's my caution? Whenever your answer is a radical, you have to think about breaking it down. Now, obviously, 2 doesn't break down. Also, if you got an answer like the square root of 6, the number 6 does break down, but the radical doesn't simplify. Because why? You gotta have 2 of them. You gotta have 2 of these, right? And you don't. You have 1, 2, and 1, 3, so that would be the answer. All right, number 4, simplify. You all have your own way of doing it, and it's fine as long as you get the same answer. Personally, I'm doing 1 letter at a time, or 1 number at a time. So what can I do with 20 over 6? This is my style, it doesn't have to be yours. But what do I know about that? 10 over 3. Those are just numbers, it's just a fraction. You're just going to reduce it. Now, what about my x's? Look, don't make it hard. You have 4 of them on the top, and you have 1 of them on the bottom. Who has more? How many more?
3.
There you go, x cubed on top. Now, what about this guy? He is going to go up. Now, wait a second. You are moving up 10, but you already have 1 up there. So now what are you going to have? If you have 1 up there and you bring up 10 more,
11.
you're going to have 11 of them, and there's your answer. Don't let yourself get all freaked out. There's nothing to freak about. Okay, this is just an equation to solve. You can do this. What do you think?
8x.
Distribute. So 8x minus 32 plus 9 equal, do the same thing, 6x minus 12.
Combine.
Let's combine like terms over here. Before we start moving stuff around, it's easier to go ahead and get it cleaned up. So what is a negative 32 and a positive 9?
Negative 23.
Negative 23. Now we can start moving stuff. So we'll bring the 6x over, add the 23. I got 11 halves. How about you? And that's my answer. It's an equation. So your answer is x equals. X equals. Now the next one is an inequality, which means that your answer is going to be written with brackets or parentheses, okay? That's how we write our answers, in interval notation. But you gotta get there first. So what do you want to do first? 5x minus 20. I'm gonna bring, I like to have all my letters over here, that's a personal problem I have. So I'm gonna bring this over, so negative 2x is less than 26.
Yes.
But because I made that choice, now I'm gonna be dividing by negative 2, which means I'm going to change my sign. And on the number line, I would have an open dot at negative negative 13 shaded this way. And what's out here? Infinity. There's your interval, guys. Negative 13 to infinity. What's the quiz tomorrow going to look like? No. So are we going to be ready? Yeah. All right, so you can take that home and study it some more if you need to. What we're going to do now is go back to our notes. And hopefully finish up P5 today. I'm on page 5. You should be on page 5 of your notes, I mean. And we are ready for this problem right here. And the directions say use the quadratic formula. Okay, let's get that on the board. Who remembers from yesterday or whatever day we did this? What is the quadratic formula? Let's get it up here on the board.
X equals plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2 times x.
Yes, perfect. Now, kids, that will not be on the board for quizzes and tests. You need to know that, okay? So if you don't already have it memorized, get it on a note card. Have mom help you. Parents always love to help you. Get it learned. All right, so what's A in my problem? A is 2. B is, and C is, all right, here we go. We're just plugging. So X equals negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared, which is 9, minus 4 times 2 times 7, all over 4. How does that look to everybody? All right, what's 4 times 2 times 7? 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 7 is 56. So we have 9 minus 56. Uh-oh. I think we're going to have a negative number under there. What's 9 minus 56?
Negative 47.
Negative 47. Remember from Mrs. Fields' class, this is going to be a subtraction problem, and it's big minus little. That's going to be negative because 56 is bigger. What do I do with that? That'll get you partial credit, but it won't get you full credit. Who remembers what I have to do when I have that situation? Mary? I need to pull out the I, right? Whenever you take the square root of a negative, the negative comes out of the radical as the imaginary unit, which is I, the square root of negative 1. Am I done? Yeah, I'm done. There's nothing I can do with that. Does 47 break down? No. Can't cancel anything? I'm done. That's your answer. Do you see how there's 2 of them? Negative 3 plus and negative 3 minus? You're always going to get 2 answers. All right, one more. Try this one on your own. See what you come up with. Same thing. Quadratic formula. think you got lucky on that one too. I don't think it simplifies either. What do you think, guys? You have the same thing? Everybody okay? So on test day, you'll have to do a problem with the quadratic formula. Everybody's good? Okay. Number 5. These equations look a little bit different, but they are easy. Can anybody toss out an idea how we might solve this? Do you have an idea about how we might solve this equation? Square both sides.
Yep.
Yep. We want to start moving things around, get all the x's on one side, but we can't because everything's under the radical. So the first thing we have to do is get rid of the radical. So we're going to do this. This is kind of the backwards what we did before. But what happens when you square a square root? They disappear, right? So we just have x plus 2 equal to 3x minus 1. And then we just solve it like regular. So negative 2x equals negative 3. I got 3 halves, but I could have made a mistake.
That's all right.
That's what you got. Is that okay? Now, would you take out your calculator for me? Remember, 3 halves is 1.5, so if it's easier for you, think of 1.5. Would you do 1.5 plus 2? Get equals, and square root that. So square root that number. Did you get some decimal? Okay, hang on to that for a second. Now, do 3 times 1.5 and subtract 1, hit equals, and square root that number. Did you get the same decimal? Yes. So what did we just do? We just checked our answer. And unfortunately, guys, whenever you square both sides like this, you should always check, because squaring both sides can introduce what are known as extraneous roots. Have you heard that word before? Extraneous. Those are roots, answers like this, that you got legitimately. You didn't make any mistakes, but when you go to plug it back in, it doesn't work. And that happens sometimes when you do this operation. Okay, so we're gonna kind of get in the habit of, every time we do this squaring thing, we're gonna wait and solve and check our answers. All right, let's try another one. What do you think about this?
Divide the 2.
You absolutely can divide by 2. So the square root of x plus 1 equals 3 over 2. Now what? Square it. So x plus 1 will equal what? What happens when you square a fraction? Cliff's making a face. It's easy, Cliff. When we square a fraction, we square the top and square the bottom. So this is just going to be 9 over 4. And then we will subtract 1. So x equals 9/4 minus 1. I'm doing it by hand. I got 5/4. If you're typing it in on your calculator, you got 1.25. let's check it. What's 1.25 plus 1? You don't have to tell me, just type it in. 1.25 plus 1 equals, square root that, times 2. Did it equal 3? Lord, I hope it did. 1.25 plus 1 equals, square root that number, equals, times 2. Should have been 3. If it's not, you need to figure you need to figure out how to type that in. So that would be office hours tomorrow. All right, here we go. This one now is going to be harder. Harder is probably not the right word, longer. I'm going to square both sides so that this is not a radical anymore. But now what do I do with the other side?
Square root.
X plus 1, x plus 1. Don't be a freshman. Don't make a freshman mistake. That is a FOIL. That's a FOIL. X plus 1, x plus 1. So x squared, outsides, insides less. What kind of an equation is that? Quadratic. Can I use the quadratic formula on it if I want to? Sure. But it has to be set equal to 0 and all cleaned up. So, let me fix this side over here. Now I'm going to subtract the 5 and add the x. So x squared plus 3x minus 4 is where I'm at right now. Now, could we do the quadratic formula? Yep, if you want to. That one does factor. I don't know if you see it or not. Do you see this?
Plus 4.
You can do that. What would it be?
Plus 4 minus 1.
X plus 4, x minus 1. If you see that, that's always faster. But the quadratic formula will always work. We got two answers. -4 and +1. You'll get that with the quadratic formula after you do all the square root and all that stuff. Okay. Here's my problem. I'm going to check my answers. So I'm going to put -4 in right here. -4 in right here. I'm checking to see if -4 works. What's 5 minus -4? 9. What's the square root of 9? 3. What's -4 plus 1? Uh-oh, guess what? That one didn't check. That one is extraneous. Didn't check. Let's try 1. 1 right here, and 1 right here. In my original equation, I'm putting in 1. What's 5 minus 1? 5 minus 1 is 3. 5 minus 1 is 4, and the square root of 4 is 2. 1 plus 1 is 2, so that one works. and the only answer to the problem is x equals 1. A question that always comes up is, can you have both work? And the answer is yes, they both can work. Can you have both not work? Yep, they can both not work. You just never know. You just have to check them to see. Okay, here we have one work. All right, take a second with your partner. You have one more. Take a second and see what you can do with this guy. Work with your partner. Shake those cobwebs out. It's Tuesday now. We should be wide awake.
Would you divide the two or how does it work? I was thinking you could divide it so you have a way.
No, for real.
Yeah.
I bet I like it. No, for real.
Before you get too far in, what was the first thing you did?
Subtract
Yes,
five.
subtract 5. Very good. Very good. What was the second thing you did?
Divide the two.
Very good. What was the third thing you did? Square. Perfect. So x minus 3 equals 1.
1 plus the 3.
And did we all get 4?
Yes, mine.
Each cell group? Now, did anyone check that?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
So checking it, we would put a 4 in right here. That's what we would do. Go back to the original problem and put in your 4. Now, what is 4 minus 3? 1. And the square root of 1 is 1. And 2 times 1 is 2. And 2 plus 5 is not 3. So therefore, the answer to this problem is no answer. Because the only answer you got didn't check. Anytime you do this, guys, anytime you square both sides, you've got to check. Because you might get extraneous roots. Okie dokie smokies? Alright, P5 is due on Thursday. And let's take a look at P6. So as you can guess, probably just from looking at the problems, P6 is about i's, complex numbers. Any thought? Oh, come on, somebody's got a thought. Mary? Combine like terms. Easy peasy. Combine like terms. So 3 and 2 makes 5, and a 1i and a negative 4i makes a negative 3i. Done. That's it. That's all you have to do. Combine like terms. What about this one? We're going to combine like terms, but first we need
Get
to
rid of it.
distribute that.
Yep.
Just like regular polynomials, we need to distribute that. So we have 4 plus 3i minus 6 minus I. And let's add them up, and what do we got? Perfect. Easy. So easy. Everybody gets that right. What about C? What are we gonna do with C? I heard somebody say it.
Foil.
Foil. FOIL it. You got a parentheses times a parentheses. We're gonna FOIL that. FOIL, what's it stand for? First, outside, inside, last. So here we go. First would be 12. Outside, some of you do this and that's fine, to keep your eyes focused. That would be negative 9i. This would be 8i. And this would be negative 6i squared. Take a minute, digest that, make sure that's, you're okay.
Make the I negative.
Fun fact, first lesson I ever taught my whole life was FOILing. Okay? Now, will these two add together?
Yeah.
So they're gonna make a negative 1i. Now, Willow's got a thought about this guy. We know that I squared is, or we're supposed to know, if we don't, now I'm telling you, I squared is negative 1. So this actually becomes plus 6 because it's negative 6 times negative 1. Putting an I squared on something changes its sign. And then we can add these together and get 18 minus I as our final answer. Okay. So A was an add, B was a subtract, C was a times, D is a divide. Who's good for an idea? Oh, look back there, back row,
Why
Leilani.
don't you put like the parentheses and then put the top one and multiply it both by the bottom one by both sides. Top
You
one.
are right there.
Oh my God.
We are gonna multiply the top and the bottom by the conjugate of the bottom. And the conjugate of the bottom is just 6 plus I. When you do the conjugate, you change the middle sign. So since it was 6 minus, it will become 6 plus. And we do that on the top and the bottom. Now, some of you may be wondering, or maybe you forgot why we're doing this, but you'll see in a minute, because something really cool is gonna happen. I know, really cool. All right, so now we've got some multiplications, so we're just gonna have to start foiling all over the place. All right, so start foiling. You gotta foil your top, foil your bottom. Luke, let's get that pencil moving. Let's start foiling. Please don't copy down mine. Actually foil. First, outside, inside, last. Do I look good so far? I need you to check me. Remember, I'm old. All right, let's combine like terms. Here we go. This is going to be 30 plus 23i. Now, what happens to the 3i squared? Negative 3. Good. And then look what happens on the bottom. This is why you did this. See how those cancel? And that becomes plus 1. So now you have no i's left in the bottom, and that's the rule. You cannot have an I in the bottom of the problem. So to get rid of it, we do this trick that Leilani was talking about. We multiply by the conjugate. Does anybody have a question about that? Okay, nothing cancels here obviously because of these numbers, but I want you to notice something here. If this had been 27 plus 23i over 9, still nothing cancels. Nothing cancels. Never cancel in a problem like this unless you can cancel in all 3 spots. So the fact that you can cancel in 2 of them doesn't matter. You have to cancel in all 3 or don't cancel. Did everybody hear that? Perfect. All right, how about E? E is different now. We're simplifying this. What do you think that is going to be? What'd you say?
I root 9.
Actually, not root 9. It's root 81, which is 9.
I9.
Exactly. So you can write I9. I'll probably write 9I, but it makes no difference. So out comes the negative, Charles. Out comes the negative. That's an I. And then you take the square root of 81, which is 9. All right, now F, I want you to do exactly the same way. One piece at a time. So, tell me about the square root of negative 4. What is the square root of negative 4? 2i. What is the square root of negative 9?
3i.
Now, the problem says to multiply those together. 6i squared, which will be negative 6. Very, very good. I'm sure Mr. Meyer told you last year lots of things, and one of the things he told you was when you have a negative under a radical, you got to pull the I out.
I don't remember that.
Okay, well, I'm telling you, when you have a negative under a radical, you got to take out the I. Okay, I love this problem because some of you will look at it and say, oh my gosh, it's so hard. When really, it's probably the easiest problem we've done today. So I want you to look at it. Who's got an idea? Daniel, I bet you would be right if you said something.
No.
No? Your job is to tell me what X is. Look at the problem. Any wild guess? Celeste?
X equals 3 plus 2i.
Close, stop.
Sure.
X equals 3.
3.
Because on this side of the problem, you have a plane 3 and you have a plane X. Now here I have a 2i and a yi. So what do you think y is? 2. Yeah, done. Done. When you compare those numbers, you have a piece with no I and a piece with an I. The no I parts match and the I parts match. Is that okay? All right. Oh, there's another one like this. Let's see if you can figure it out. See if you can figure the next one out. It's exactly the same problem. It's just got some negatives and stuff in it. job, X and Y. What are X and Y? Take a second, don't say it. We're gonna take a vote here in a minute.
Not yet. Not yet.
I'm sorry.
She's got great enthusiasm.
Or don't look back over
Thanks for it.
All right, Cole, got an idea? What do you think X is, Cole?
3.
3. What do the rest of you think?
Yeah.
I'm voting with Cole.
I like
X
that.
is 3.
I like that.
That's good. That's good. Maya, what do you think about Y? Well, leave her alone.
I'm looking at it.
7?
I think negative.
Maybe -7, Maya, because here we have a negative Y. My I has a negative Y on it, and over here my I has a positive 7. So it's like negative Y is the same as 7, which means Y is the same as -7. Does that make sense to you? Yep. Everybody okay with those two answers?
Yes, ma'am.
Life is so good.
I know, right?
All right. Okay. Couple more. You're doing great. You're doing absolutely magnificently. Now, this number 3 here is just some review stuff. So x squared plus 4x plus 2.
Quadratic.
It does not tell you how to solve it. So you
Oh, you
can
could do
you can try to factor it. That's, you know, you can try to complete the square. That's where we move this to the other side. Or you can use the quadratic formula, okay? Doesn't matter, everybody gets the same answer, okay? So, Kendall, I'm gonna have you come up with a partner. You know, if you wanna come by yourself and show off, you totally can. If you would rather bring someone with you for moral support, that's fine too, but I want you to come on up and do this, okay?
I'm here for moral support. I'm not.
Kendall's doing it, Derek's helping, coaching.
Yeah.
He's a black marker.
It'd be next to next summer.
Wait, this one is what?
So, yeah, you
Oh.
gotta figure out what you're gonna do first.
I think so.
What's your favorite?
I think this was what you most.
What's your favorite?
Let me see. I think so. I'm talking about 4.
Okay.
You multiply to 4.
Square.
Oh, you don't. I don't get 2.
Yeah.
You can't say. Huh?
Well, okay, here's, if you're gonna complete the square, then first thing, move the 2 over here. So it's all at the same, so, right, x squared plus 4x, space, 4x, leave a space.
Yeah.
Okay, leave a space, and then equals your -2.
How many did you do negative?
Now you gotta find the number that we're
It would have been a negative.
go on both
Oh,
sides.
so I did. Okay, so
This
oh no.
will be that. So what's gonna go in that?
Yeah. Hey, wait.
We're here. Add those.
Hey, my God.
Now what? Now what?
I'm a little bad confused.
Not square. Opposite, yeah, because it's already squared.
You bloody egg.
So,
People trying to keep us learning.
Equals.
Hey, my boy, oh my God, did you always say that? Four and two, and then 2 and 2. Then 2, back to 2.
There you go.
Wait, flip it the hell and stop.
All right, so Kendall chose to complete the square. Did anybody use the quadratic formula? Okay, did you get the same answer either? He got -2 plus or minus root 2. What did you get, Celeste? Oh, something happened. All right, so let's look at the quadratic formula.
That's tough on me. Wait, did I do it?
So, Celeste, A equals 1,
My head?
B equals 4, and C equals 2. Does that look right? So, X equals -B. Okay, we're all paying attention, right? -B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Is that your setup, Stress? We gotta figure out where you went wrong. So underneath here, this is 8. So do you have 8 under there? Perfect. Now, what about 8? 8 breaks down into 4 times 2?
Yes.
And 2 times 2? So there's 2. So I have -4 plus or minus 2 radical 2, because I can take a 2 out, and there's a 2 left. Over 2.
I don't know because I divided 4 by 2 and 8 by 2.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the problem. See that 8 right there? He's a radical. You can never divide a number that's under the radicals. Okay? And since you can't divide that one, you can't divide that one, because you have to divide all 3 of them. Now, once you've simplified the rest, can I now cancel a 2 out of all those? That's the rule. You gotta take it out of everything. So if I take a 2 out, I'll have -2 plus or minus root 2. 1, 1, -2. And notice that is exactly what Kendall got. How many of you got the correct answer on your own? Ooh, ooh, scary,
Wait,
not good.
what is it? What would it look like if you did factoring?
It doesn't factor.
Oh.
It doesn't. What did you try?
What would you do? X plus 2. You would do X plus 2.
It just wanted.
And 2 or 1.
Because we can't even. Oh man.
Okay, that's not gonna work because on the end I'll get a 4. Right? So this would have to be a 1. So I get 2 times 1, but then my insides don't add up to 4. It doesn't factor. And that's what's wrong with factoring. Factoring is always fast and easy, but it doesn't always work. Okay? All right, there's one more equation. This is gonna be our last problem of the day. I want everybody doing this. We struck out on this one, but now that we've walked through, I want you to try problem B. Do not just write down what I do. Solve this problem however you want. This one, I believe, does factor, So if you want to try to factor it, that's fine. You can also use the quadratic formula. You can also complete the square, but that would be ugly. I would not complete the square because you have to divide by 2 and that would give you a fraction. So I would either try to factor it or use the quadratic formula. I did both. I factored it and I used the quadratic formula, so you can check. I'm not sure how you're doing it. The moral of the story is, guys, doesn't matter how you do the problem. Nope, you do it. And the answer is always going to be the same, no matter how you do it. So you have to find a way that you like. You need to get good at it, and then you need to solve that way. So I got 7 halves and 1. I got that one I factored also up there at the top. I factored. All right, quiz tomorrow, P1 to P4, right?
Oh, man.
P5 is